And here we go, round one. Kyle and the shovel squaring off here. You can see the shovel is very quick. And Kyle is showing some very good head movement here in the stand-up game. Now throwing a low leg kick and dodges that nice overhand right by the shovel. And now the shovel, oh man, and another big left. And now the big haymaker that lands into the dome of Kyle. Kyle gets dropped and dropped once again. And I think that is an illegal blow to the back of the head. Oh!
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an alright day today. How are you doing? How is everybody out in the cryptoverse doing? I know they said it would be easy. They said I would have 100x overnight, and here we are, and Bitcoin currently sitting at the absolute point of control. You can see right here, if we look at this VPVR, this red line, simple chart as it is, represents the highest volume demand for Bitcoin, and we are sitting at that level right now, almost looking like we are sitting on the edge of a cliff. And this has a lot of investors very concerned as to why Bitcoin has not been performing like a safe haven asset during a time of uncertainty globally right now. Now, just to point out as well, we also have stocks falling below their support levels. You can see we had 3 levels of potential support. All of them have been broken. And this is during a time where commodities are absolutely skyrocketing. We still have supply chain issues in the US from the last 2 years of the COVID situation, as well as the fact that we have gold pushing on all-time highs. And we also have the dollar pumping. What is going on? There is a lot of FUD in the space, and things could get even worse because we do have Joe Biden coming out to sign an executive order on crypto this week. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to come out and say bad things about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but it sure isn't helping, adding to this fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market. So in today's video, we're going to talk about what is going on, why we're seeing gold pump, why we're seeing the dollar go up, commodities skyrocketing, Bitcoin falling, stocks falling. Is Bitcoin going to maintain that correlation to the stock market like it always has? Is gold really the place that we should be hopping into right now? We're going to go over all of that today. If you hold Bitcoin, you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video. And I also do want to share, obviously, some short-term price movements if you are looking to trade the charts. But I do want to mention what is happening on-chain with the whales, what they're doing, because it kind of is giving us a bit of clue as to what could potentially happen for the Bitcoin price. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you can get notified on these updates. Some of them are quite time sensitive. And as you can see right here, guys, Bitcoin, although we have had this fall, we are still technically trending perfectly in this pattern. We haven't quite lost the structure just yet, although it is a little scary seeing us sitting exactly on the point of control. It's like Bitcoin's hanging on by a thread, like it's on the edge of a cliff, right? But in hindsight, you can always look back and say, well, this is a great opportunity for buying, right? Because we know where the price of Bitcoin is going long term. But short term, things are probably going to get a little bit crazy. So having a look right here, this is potentially a good area if you are looking to long. I'm not going to suggest you do that just because we do have to still see what comes out with, the executive order. There are a lot of things developing right now. It's useful to use the TA, but since there's a lot of fundamentals happening right now, there is that potential for those black swan type events to happen, right? So do be careful out there if you are looking to trade. But right here, you can see we are being once again supported by this uptrend for Bitcoin. So is there that possibility for Bitcoin to bounce around here, break back up, and then, get back into this blue zone and try to break above this level? I think that is a possibility. There is a lot of resistance, though, around that $46,000 level. Ultimately, we are still in this pattern. I'm not going to harp on TA too much today because not much really has changed since yesterday. If you want a broader spectrum sort of analysis on Bitcoin, go back and watch yesterday's video. But you can see essentially we're still putting in the higher highs. We're still putting in these lower lows, but we are forming this pattern right here. And I mean, yes, technically we are putting in a higher high if you count this, but some people say, hey, maybe this was the bull trap, right? That is a possibility. We don't know. We haven't had enough time to play it out yet. I do know that we are still 100% supporting both of these trend lines over on the CME futures. So that is something really good to note. And one other thing, if you just want to look historically at Bitcoin, this was actually from Jake Gordon. He's Bespoke Investment Group's analyst. He actually noted that Bitcoin may be close to bottoming given how it has remained below its 200 daily moving average. So typically, according to this chart, you can see Bitcoin tends to generate significant returns after staying below the moving average for a prolonged period of time. So Bespoke Investment Group has estimated that the average return after at least a 50-day bearish streak is roughly 31%. Now, the annual return stands at an impressive 226%. Now, although today gold might be doing quite well, it's up 16%, 18% off the bottom, we do know that Bitcoin can easily move 18% or more in a day. It wouldn't be impossible to see a 31% rebound for Bitcoin, and that would be exactly what we would need, right? You can see that Bitcoin has now been sitting below the 200 moving average for 70 consecutive days, which makes it one of the longest streaks on record. So considering that usually you see these types of returns anything longer than 50 days, it could definitely be signaling that Bitcoin is incredibly oversold at these levels and more than due for a pump, and a real pump, not the fake out pump that we had last week where we just hit resistance and came back down, an actual reversal. Now, if we actually did look potentially at a crazy black swan event, you can see that whenever Bitcoin historically does have these black swan events, it pretty much almost immediately starts recovery, and it does signal the absolute bottom. In fact, you can see these huge spikes in volume right here that tend to signal these big top and bottom moves. Now, to be honest, we haven't really had that signal yet over here. We did have it back here during this major capitulation event during the week of May 17th, but we haven't really had that volume yet. We've had it on smaller time frames, but not really on larger time frames. But nevertheless, you can see, even if we were to have, these types of black swan events, these major sell-offs like we have in the past, they always represent amazing opportunities for buying for Bitcoin. But the technicals for Bitcoin are just the tip of the iceberg. Right now, we have massive things happening globally, economically. I mean, if you've been to a gas station recently, prices in LA are literally the same price that they were in the movie I Am Legend with Will Smith. You can actually Google that. That's how bad things are getting right now. Well, it's not just the oil prices. We have Russia and Ukraine among the largest wheat producers in the world, accounting for almost 1/3 of the world's wheat exports. We now have wheat production and exports coming to a virtual standstill, leading prices to soar over 31% in a week, well beyond their previous all-time highs. We also have the price of metal, nickel, the metal nickel, another one of Russia's largest exports, has also skyrocketed to over $100,000 per ton Tuesday, leading the London Metal Exchange to actually halt their trading for the remainder of the day. They talk about soaring food and energy commodity prices, and the bleak long-term outlook for equities appear to have prompted investors to seek refuge in precious metals. Now, getting back to gold, gold has rallied 3.58% over the last 5 days, trading over $2,000, potentially looking to break its all-time high of $2,074. And like Raoul Pal said, I'm struggling to see how we are going to avoid a global recession. The odds are rising every day. Not a certainty yet, but close. But what does this mean for Bitcoin? If we do go into a recession, does this mean that gold is the place we should be and we shouldn't be paying any attention to Bitcoin? Are some of these short-term bears, like for example, Gareth Soloway, who actually did, I got to give the guy credit, say that gold might be the place to be? He's calling for a 24,000 to 20,000 or below Bitcoin price. Well, Mike McGlone was actually over on Stansberry Research, and he gave his input as to what he thinks as far as gold and Bitcoin is concerned. And he's actually not bearish on gold, but his sort of commentary on Bitcoin might surprise a lot of people.
Well, where does it go from here, Mike?
I think it's a matter of time that gold crosses that $2,000 an ounce Rubicon of resistance and never looks back. It's so overdue, technically, fundamentally. I think a key indicator for us, Danielle, it's obviously it didn't do well in inflation. It's not doing well in inflation. Its deflation is a greater risk. The key indicator I'm watching is that U.S. 30-year long bond, which I expect to decline and expect the gold to break out. But we have to admit, gold does have major competition from the digital version, that's Bitcoin. So I think gold is naked, if not paired with Bitcoin anymore. Now you see Bitcoin's down in the year, but it's way outperforming on a risk-adjusted basis the stock market. So what you're seeing right now, I think, is the whole tide is going out, which is helping gold. Finally, the stock market is giving up some of those excessive gains for the last few years. Gold should benefit. Bitcoin's going down initially, but then I fully expect it to come out ahead. And but the key thing about gold is it's being replaced by digital gold. That's a fact. It's a question of endurance. And I view gold as basically naked, if not paired with some Bitcoin in portfolios.
What's your forecast now?
The equivalent happened in Ethereum, and my forecast is it's a matter of time that Bitcoin gets to $100,000. It could go to 31st as the tide ebbs, as we mentioned. I fully embarrass the stock market because of recession. It'll drag Bitcoin down, but the facts of Bitcoin is supply is going down. That's by code. Demand and adoption are going up, and I expect that to continue. And the key fact about Bitcoin is it's less than 1% of global portfolios. Yet I fully think that most managers on the planet who run money realize we got to have some of this, just because if it just continues to do what it's been doing in a world going digital, this is a global digital benchmark, might as well get allocated. And it's proven all the naysayers wrong. So this year to me is another one. It's down about the same as the NASDAQ, despite the fact it has a much higher volatility. So I see divergent strength this year. I think it can go lower in the short term, but in the long term, to me, $100,000 is a matter of time.
And you can see right now, having a look at the gold chart, gold is, I mean, we may even break the all-time high for gold today. It's trying to right now as I'm making the video. And this is also during a time where the dollar is pumping as well. Now, interestingly enough, if we actually look at the dollar from the bottom to the top right here, the dollar is up 11.3%. And if we actually look at gold from the bottom to the top right here, gold is actually up 23%. So it is doing better as a hedge against the dollar, but it still really doesn't provide the returns that you do see long-term for Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is a newer technology. It is something that still a lot of people are not really being exposed to at this point. I mean, like Mike said, it's really only around 1%, right? But it is slowly starting to build that narrative, which, by the way, guys, it is hitting an all-time high. Not going to tell you what to do, but if you do want to get exposure to gold and you don't feel like going out there and buying gold, you can actually go over to Femex. They have a gold USD perpetual if you want to trade that. So just so you guys, to let you know, if you're interested, you can actually trade the price of gold over on Femex. So if you want, I will leave the link below in the description for that. And don't forget, I do have over $4,000 in bonuses for Femex. If you guys want to use the link, it does help to support the channel. You do help get a bonus. You don't have to, but I did want to bring to your attention, if Bitcoin's boring you right now and you want to get in on the gold thing, they do offer that over at Femex. They also offer $10 a month spot trading fees, which is one of the cheapest really around. So definitely check that out. Link below in the description. But there is a warning that Mike McGlone did give, not for Bitcoin, but actually for Ethereum. He says, our demographic depicts Ethereum at about the middle of the range. If the stock market takes another leg lower, Ethereum is more likely to revisit the lower end. And if equities start dropping fast, Ethereum could repeat last summer and revisit about the $1,700 mark. And also something interesting is if you look at this data from DeFi Llama, we did have Ethereum starting out the year with total value locked at around 97%. And well, that was last year, I'm sorry. But now it's down from 97% to about 55%. And this is showing that a lot of people are sort of, diversifying into other things like Cardano, Solana, Avalanche, Terra Luna. So Ethereum does have a lot of competitors. That is sort of the thing to keep on your radar. Whereas really, Bitcoin, people try to argue that Bitcoin has competitors, but for what Bitcoin is trying to do, it kind of doesn't. I mean, it's really just sort of digital gold and real gold. Ethereum is going to have a lot to prove itself, especially over this year with all of these other competitors. So not to scare anybody or anything like that, just kind of letting you know, just be a little weary of that. There is a lot of competition coming in for Ethereum, as we know. But getting back to Bitcoin, so what is going on right now? What is happening with Bitcoin, right? Everybody's like, well, the price is going down. Like, are people just selling? Is it panic selling? Are we going into a bear market? Well, according to Arcane Research, investors have now increased speculative importance on cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, as non-political money during the geopolitical conflict, instability, and capital controls. They say Bitcoin's real daily volume has moved tremendously beyond what was obtainable for the past 3 months. Arcane Research, which is a blockchain analytics company, reports that Bitcoin's real daily trading volume actually rose above $10 billion last week, which stands as the highest record since early December. So there is an interest in Bitcoin. Maybe right now, gold is more globally accepted, right? Gold has been around for 5,000 years. Bitcoin has been around for only 13 years. But what Bitcoin has done in that short period of time absolutely blows anything that gold has done out of the water. I mean, sure, gold is up right now 25%, but we have the dollar up 16%. So really, in comparison to the dollar moving up versus gold moving up, gold is not really providing that amazing of a percentage difference, at least not for the cryptocurrency community, because we don't care about 10, 20%. We want 100x's, right? Well, Bitcoin provides those types of returns over long periods of time, right? In fact, if we actually have a look at Whale Map, they mention that areas of whale interest are now very well defined. $34,000 awaits below 36 to 37K, and the macro trend reversal happens right here above 48,500. Now, we have talked about this $46,000 level a lot, but you can see that every time we come down into this area, even when we just dipped down recently, there is a lot of, there's massive whale bubbles right here between 37 and 38. So this is a huge area of interest for them. Now, if you're worried about the bearish, if we go lower than 34, well, then we go back to 28, 29, which is what I've been saying is a possibility. But my point is, it doesn't matter where we go short term. It's not like you're seeing people just up and leave. I showed you yesterday, gray Bitcoin with Kathy Ark and that other investment company. I can't remember right now the firm. Watch yesterday's video, but they were essentially buying these dips, and they were buying at premiums that weren't even as big as they are right now, and they're not selling anything, and you could see that the whales are in fact buying. So short-term price action, it could get you kind of offsides. You might freak out a little bit, but they are in fact buying. These aren't like spoof orders that we're seeing. This is actual on-chain accumulation data. And the other thing, just to point out, not saying this means anything, but we had a high right here for these Bitfinex longs, and they have been slowly creeping up, increasing their position for these longs. Could the Bitfinex whales be wrong? Of course they could be wrong, but maybe they know something, or maybe they are putting in their longs in anticipation for something that could be happening soon. And, going back to what I said previously, Bitcoin is very oversold right now. And, usually when we're down around these levels, you look for about a 31% break once you get back above the 50-day moving average, with an average annual return of around 226%. So when you're considering a 226% increase versus, maybe another 15 to 20% decrease, you got to kind of weigh your risk and reward right here. If you are looking to accumulate Bitcoin, not financial advice, but dollar cost averaging at these levels, it's kind of like a once in a lifetime chance. Sure, it could go lower, but how many people really time the absolute bottoms? How many people really time the absolute tops? Virtually nobody, right? So it's all risk versus reward. For me, these are great buying levels. I have been accumulating as much as I possibly can. However, we do have, the situation with Biden right now. So essentially, they say after a brief delay caused by war, U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to sign the executive order about cryptocurrency regulations this week. In it, sources said Biden would cooperate with other allies to ensure they were all on the same page. Now, we also have something coming out of the European Union, so this could all tie in together. We'll get to that in just a minute. But citing sources familiar with the matter, we had Reuters reporting that the president is expected to propose a wide-ranging oversight in the cryptocurrency market, including an executive order to deal with the growing threat of ransomware and other cyber crime. With the events and concerns about Russia's involvement with crypto, Biden also wants to coordinate his country's actions with its allies, NATO. Additionally, they said he will also direct the Treasury, the Department of Justice, and other government agencies to outline a possible scenario on how the nation could adopt a central bank digital currency. The U.S. has dabbled with this idea, but is sitting far behind China at this point. Now, we don't really know too much about what they're going to talk about. Dennis Porter said Biden executive order rumored to require the Environmental Protection Agency and Office of Science and Technology Policy to conduct a study on the environmental impact of digital assets. And like I showed you guys yesterday in that newspaper, which is on the floor because I threw it over there, we had people locally in New York actually complaining about not wanting this plant to mine Bitcoin. So there is still that huge concern over environmental factors for Bitcoin. What could that mean? Could it be detrimental? Is proof of work mining going to end up getting banned? I would say If you had to ask me, the answer would be no. I do think that they would incentivize them to use a more green method. But, I had to retweet this because Mark Moss said, a 79-year-old who doesn't understand the difference between Ukraine and Iran is going to pass executive orders to regulate a technological revolution he doesn't understand? What could possibly go wrong? Well, if we have a look at some of the things that have just happened recently, and this could kind of hint towards what they're looking to do, the U.S. Treasury Department has proclaimed that all U.S. crypto exchanges must register with FinCEN. In a series of reports published last week, Janet Yellen's Treasury urged all virtual asset service providers, so the Treasury claimed, they have to follow the Bank Secrecy Act. So that means that the Treasury claimed crypto payments increases the risk of illicit activities. And as a result, we've already seen Coinbase advertising the fact that they've blacklisted over 25,000 crypto wallets connected to Russia before the incursion. So we're already kind of seeing these guys, get scared, cutting off accounts and things like that. So there is going to be a lot of uncertainty, especially for crypto, I think, until we get the results. But even so, that's not even the end of it, because next week we have something coming up. The European Union is going to vote on passing the Markets in Crypto Assets, the MiCA, which is a key cryptocurrency law. So you had Stefan Berger, a European MP, tweeting that the Economic and Monetary Affairs Committee will vote on the bill on March 14th. So until March 14th, we also could have a lot of uncertainty in the markets. Now, he urges that he suggested that crypto assets should be recognized as an investment and regulated by the taxonomy system, like all other financial products in the EU. Now, here's the good news. He also cleared the air on the ban of proof of work, saying that it is no longer planned. So they are not even looking to consider this ban on proof of work mining, which is very, very good for Bitcoin. And if you're freaking out, if you're worried, I'm going to tell you honestly, I don't think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to just tackle some of the, money laundering and criminal activity, cyber crimes, things like that. And you can see right here, just in the US, just to kind of like ease your mind here, one of the Senate's most powerful Democrats has warned his colleagues against cracking down too hard on the booming crypto industry, and he compares it to the infancy of the internet. So this is Ron Wyden. This is him right here, pictured in this picture. So Ron Wyden, chair of the Senate Finance Committee and one of the architects of the US internet regulation. So, he's been there sort of on those, cusps of concern and innovation, urged members of the party to protect crypto innovators despite concerns about fraud and money laundering within the industry. Wyden told the Financial Times that there is obviously a debate about stricter regulation, but I want to be on the side of the innovator. He says, when I think about crypto, I think about remittances or someone who has a kid 1,000 miles away and wants to help them in an emergency, get them money, rather than going through scores of banks and credit card companies, etc. We do know that crypto provides an excellent solution. I mean, try sending a bar of gold to your friend across the world, for, less than $10 in a matter of 10 minutes. And $10 is kind of pushing it because most Bitcoin transactions are not even remotely close to those levels as of right now. But he does say that he likens it to the industry of the internet in the early days. And when he and colleagues in Congress drew up legal protections for online platforms, they did this. This is sort of some data, you can go and read this, but they were essentially doing this to avoid being sued for content that users post on their sites, right? So saying that, a user on a website doesn't necessarily reflect the overall website, right? If I go on, let's say, Facebook and I post some really crazy stuff, and it's, some crazy stuff, I don't even want to say things you could say, is Facebook liable for that? I think the same thing kind of comes down to the crypto industry. You do have some bad actors out there. You do have some people that are doing illegal, illicit things with Bitcoin. You also have those people doing the same things with the US dollar, probably more of them doing illegal activities with the US dollar than with Bitcoin. But he says the overall space, the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin, blockchain, the innovators in the space should not be punished simply because there's some bad actors that are doing things they shouldn't be doing, right? So overall, I don't personally think that it's going to be a bad turnout, when Biden does release the results of this executive order. the details of it, but I do think that in the meantime, it's probably going to create a little bit of uncertainty in the markets. But overall, getting back to Bitcoin, we are very oversold. We are in fact due for a bounce. And another thing too is if you do consider the way that Bitcoin has sort of been responding, if you do look at the S&P, it does appear that Bitcoin has been performing, not granted the overall percentage, but Bitcoin is much more volatile, but you would think, considering the fact that it's a nascent industry, it would have got hit a lot harder considering everything going on, and yet we're still putting in higher lows, and we're still building the formation of the structure. So that is just something to consider, guys. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed these videos. We will continue to make videos, bull market, bear market, crab market, apocalypse, provided that I still have an internet connection. I will continue making these videos every single day for you guys. I love you. You're awesome. Thank you so much for sticking it out. If you do want to join the free Telegram group below, and of course, if you are looking to trade, if you do want to trade gold, you can do that over on Femex. I highly suggest that you do watch my tutorial before you do it. I go over everything from A to Z for beginners to experts, and of course, you will hopefully learn how to trade responsibly and profitably. You can check those videos popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.